Yo, yo, yo.
I love it. Just right to it. All right, Anna, week 6. We are going to really dive into this third tier of our investing bucket. So this is the engine bucket, and look at it from a different perspective than I think a lot of people do. And I think maybe most people think of this as like, okay, cool. How much small cap should I have? And that's an important question, but not a really important question. Some really important questions are, how are you allocating your money, not just from a time standpoint, which is what we talked about last week, but also from a taxable standpoint? What kind of tax breaks do you get for investing? What kind of tax breaks do you get for leaving it invested? And what kind of tax breaks do you get for distributing it to yourself or to the people that you care about later in life? And how do we manage all that? So today we're going to talk about taxes with the engine bucket, with your investing bucket. And I want to think about it in terms of a triangle. So on your piece of paper, go ahead and get, I don't know if you can hear that or not. Just sounds like wind probably. But draw a triangle. And at the end of each triangle, like a bucket. So, you've got 3 buckets on 3 triangle pieces. Okay. You want to walk through each one of these? So let's talk about just kind of big picture. What are the headlines of each one of these, buckets, so to speak?
Okay, so we got the pre-tax bucket. We have the brokerage bucket. And then we have your tax-free bucket.
Okay. So pre-tax, brokerage, tax-free. And as we dive into each one of these, let's just pretend, we use these words. We say, hey, pre-tax, tax-free, whatever. Let's just kind of talk about what each one of those does conceptually. And then obviously the titles of each account that goes in there. So when we think about pre-tax, like what type of investments go in the pre-tax bucket? Or what types of tax structures, I should say, not investments?
So tax structure meaning like your IRA.
Okay, IRA. Yeah.
So you'll see your pre-tax 401k. You'll see your traditional IRA sitting in this account.
What does it mean to be pre-tax? Break this down like we're 101 stuff here.
Yeah.
So when I say pre-tax 401k, I'm filling this out for the first time. I don't know what the hell any of this means.
So when you save into your 401k, this is typically the default. This is what most 401ks are going to offer you, what you're probably going to default to. You're getting a tax break with every dollar that you put into it. So your taxable income is deducted dollar for what you put into that pre-tax bucket. Grows tax deferred. So
we're not paying any taxes on it while it sits there and does its thing. But
so when you are 60 years old and you're ready to retire, you take any money out of that, that's taxed at ordinary income rate.
Okay. So if I make $100,000 and I put $20,000 in my 401k, when I go to file my taxes and I put this on the pre-tax side, I file my taxes like I made $80K. So I take 100 minus 20. I'm paying taxes on 80. So I run the whole tax bill as if I made 80. That 20 goes in this bucket. It's invested, it's diversified, it's doing its thing. But now when that 20 grand turns into $200,000 when I retire and I take that 100,000 back out to live on, now I'm putting the 100,000 on my tax return as taxable income. So that one side's the gimme, this other side is the gotcha. And if you haven't figured it out yet from taxes, just about everything has some level of gimme and gotcha along the way. All right. So that's pre-tax. How about brokerage? What's the tax benefits of your brokerage account? So this is non-retirement, I guess, just regular investing.
Yeah, this is money that's post-tax. So nothing is changing on your tax return.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're putting money in here. It is sitting every time you sell something, every time you get any sort of dividends, interest off of the investments in this account, you're getting taxed on that. And then anytime you sell assets from this and you use it for, buying a house, whatever it is, retirement, any of that, you're then paying capital gains tax on the growth of it, which is typically lower than your regular ordinary income tax rate.
Right on. So I have a little bit of control on that side of the equation in terms of when I sell stuff and when I am going to realize that tax. And then the third bucket is tax-free. I think that sounds pretty awesome. I'll take tax-free income.
Yeah, there's still a catch with it. You still pay taxes on the front end. So again, tax return is not changing. There's no tax deduction, anything like that. Taxable income is still the same. But when you put it in, it grows tax-free, comes out tax-free. and there's no required minimum distribution from it.
Yeah.
And it can sit in that account for as long as you want.
Forever. So for everybody just kind of thinking about this at home, there's got to be like a correct percentage. So is it 40, 40, 20, 20, 30, 50? Like what is the right percentage for each one of these buckets? And
Yeah.
how do I evaluate this?
So the exact percentage that you want into every single bucket, no, I'm just kidding.
I was like, wow, you really do have an answer. Good. This is different.
No, I mean, everyone's going to look a little bit different. Ideally, you'd want it balanced between the three. That would be the best situation. You get into retirement, you have a little bit in every single bucket. But everyone's different. If you're retiring early, we kind of need a little bit more in that brokerage to bridge the gap between retirement and 59 and a half, when you can
Right.
actually access your pre-tax and Roth money. And it also depends on like, where's cash flow at? Do you need that tax break today? If in order for you to save today, do you need to put it into pre-tax? Because I'd rather that than no savings at all. So it's really going to be a little bit nuanced towards your situation, but the target would be equal between three buckets.
You want some flexibility. It's funny. I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago and they were like, I put all my money in the pre-tax 401k. I read online I should do it as a Roth. So I'm going to change it. And I said, well, you max out your 401k, that's 24K. Your spouse maxes out their 401k, that's 24K. So you're 50K, right, of tax deferral. You recognize this is a $20,000 tax swing, right? Like you're going to owe 20 grand more on your taxes next year if you don't adjust it.
And not to mention, like, does this take you out of certain deductions or credits? Like, there's other downhill effects that this could cause too.
Yeah. And I was thinking about the flexibility here. You were mentioning capital gains taxes and dividends, and they're at a different rate and all that sort of stuff. The idea behind all of this is you want to have flexibility in your distribution plan. So we've got the three different buckets or three different places for your money in terms of time frame of your goals, but this also matters in the time frame of your goals as it relates to the tax strategy. You mentioned if I want to retire at 52, you better have some liquidity, you better have some brokerage money, because it's kind of a pain. You can do it, but it's kind of a pain to get money out of pre-tax accounts. And even after you get into retirement, it affects your Social Security taxes, it affects your Medicare premiums, and just having the flexibility to be able to review each one of those on an annual basis and say, this is what's going on in my life, I think is super important. So, I mentioned make a little triangle, fill up your buckets, put a percentage and just look at it, draw your buckets to scale. That's what I always tell people to do. Like, look at this and say, like, where am I heavy in one area and not in the other? Like, can I afford to make some allocation changes from a tax standpoint? That's a good way to just visualize where your distribution is as it relates to your tax assets. Couple of quick things. If you want to score yourself on all this, we created a scorecard. You go to stackingbenjamins.com/scorecard. Taxes and investments and cash flow and stuff takes 3 or 4 minutes. You get your score back and some commentary about things that you can do to improve that. Number one. Number two, we have another weekish or so that we're taking info from people if you want to have a vote on what we cover in the next season. So send me an email, og@stackingbenjamins.com, with your list or one thing or whatever you want us to cover, and we will try to fit it into the curriculum, as I learned last week was the word that I was looking for. So scorecard, stackingbenjamins.com/scorecard, and email address og@stackingbenjamins.com if you want some opinion about next season. Okay. A little long on taxes, but taxes are important. They suck, but we gotta
scratch the surface either.
Yeah, we didn't, did we? All right. Fun times. Anything else, Anna?
That's it.
All right. See ya.
Bye.